And now on the line is Robert Thompson. Robert brought out a book a few months ago called Insights into an Unsighted World. Robert, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Yes, thank you for interviewing me.
Okay, cool. Robert, can you start off by telling us a bit about yourself and what happened to you that made you decide to write this book?
Okay, well, I haven't had visual problems all my life. About 12 years ago, I had quite a sudden decline in my sight. I did have poor sight before that, but declined to the point where I couldn't see people anymore. I couldn't see television and things like that. So this was a whole new world for me. So I had to learn quite a lot of new tricks of how to survive. Now, what prompted me to write the book was that I have a number of friends and family who would help me and guide me a bit around. And some people are excellent at this sort of thing. And one lady who was a friend who was excellent at this, one day she was leading me somewhere and we came to steps. And she said to me, we're coming to steps. And of course, I can't see steps. But the big question is, are they going up or are they going down? I said, oh, I never thought of that. So she began to say to me, you should start writing a book about all these things that the sighted world take as obvious. But to visually impaired people, they're not quite so obvious, like the steps, are they going up or are they going down, which obviously is very important when you approach them. That was the piece that kicked off the writing of the book. And from there, I started recording all these little bits of information and tips and so on. And eventually, I did get down to writing the book.
Sounds like a great idea. I haven't had the time to read your book before this interview, but I'm sure, given the topic that it is, it's a very informative book for anyone who knows a blind or visually impaired person. Are there any countries in the world, Robert, that have a good culture for blind or visually impaired people? And can you tell us a bit how Ireland would compare?
Well, I haven't travelled much as a visually impaired person. I've been in England, all right. English people are quite good. Society in general, if you're at a station, you'll always find people who stand back for you, give you assistance. I have been in New Zealand, but with family there, so that I can't really compare with that. But I haven't really travelled to other countries since I lost my sight. I've been around the world a bit before that, but not since then to make any comparison. But in Ireland, we're doing fairly well. We could do a lot more, but we're doing fairly well as a nation. We're quite considerate towards people with disabilities in general.
You say there we could do a lot more. Like, what else could we do in Ireland? Like, do you think?
Well, if I could get people to read my book, there's lots of tips in there for how to react to a visually impaired person. I mean, there's several things that people regularly do, and obviously they don't intend to do them, but just not thinking or not realising that kind of leave a visually impaired person kind of aside in a way. I mean, classic would be, for example, somebody says, "Good morning, Robert." Now I think, who on earth can that be? They may have passed me by and they're gone, or they may be stopping to talk to me. Now I have to figure out, do I actually ask them a very direct question, who they are, or do I try and figure it out? Lots of that sort of thing, just day-to-day little things where people presume that you can see when you can't. That's probably the biggest issue, I would say.
It sounds like a great idea what you've done. You brought out the book about 6 months ago, was it?
Yes, just before Christmas.
And I read the cover of the book, and there's a bit of a synopsis by the chairman or director of the Irish Guide Dogs for Guide Dogs for Visually Impaired People. So it's in conjunction with that book, with that organisation, is it?
An endorsement for Irish Guide Dogs and an endorsement by the chief executive of the National Council for the Blind.
Right.
The NCBI endorsement is the foreword of the book, and the Guide Dogs endorsement is on the back of the book. So I've done it as a fundraiser for both those organisations. But of course, the primary objective is to raise awareness with the public at large.
Do you have a guide dog yourself, do you?
Just got one about 2 months ago.
All right.
Since I wrote the book.
Cool. That's cool, yeah.
That's a learning experience for me.
I'd say it must be fairly tough, is it, being visually impaired, like in any country in the world? Is it?
Well, you learn how to do lots of things. Now, I'm not totally blind now. At the moment, my sight has deteriorated to just a bit above that, but I've had 12 years of declining sight, and I was able to learn to do lots and lots of things, which meant that I could live a half normal life. And I say half normal because lots of things you clearly can't do. You can't go lots of places on your own. You can't go on holidays on your own, for example. You can't get into your car and drive somewhere. You can't go cycling. Lots of things like that you just can't do. But there's lots you can do as well if you just just adjust and have a little bit of ingenuity about you.
And have you got much feedback about the book, Robert?
Well, anybody who's read it, anybody who's seen it, I've got very positive feedback. So, I think, well, it's written in a sort of a light-hearted sort of manner as well, in that it's not like a textbook where kind of do this, do that, don't do this, don't do that. It's a much more light-hearted sort of fashion. And, of course, half the book is that sort of information. The other half is just some personal stories, which are just stories, life stories, which have a sort of a narrative value of interest in any event. So the book is about half and half. And
you said there that the money raised from selling the book goes to those two organisations, is it?
Right. Yes, that's correct. Yes.
Okay.
And they also have the books. I gave them also like 50 books each, just for free to go and sell, so they can raise money for themselves as well. But any books I sell, anything above the cost of getting them printed goes to them.
Okay, and before we come to the end of the interview, Robert, are there any more insights that you would like to just let us know about that people could be aware of that are in the book? Kind of.
Well, a few things, I suppose. Well, I mentioned the one about people saying saying good morning to you and not saying who they are. So the first thing is, if you're talking to a visually impaired person, tell them who you are. Very important. Is steps and that type of thing. People say we're coming to a step. That's important. A couple of other ones as well. Sometimes people come in, put out their hands, shake hands to you, and you don't see it. So accompany that with, here, I'll shake hands with you, or take their hand, or something like that. Another thing as well is, if you're, and this one happens very regularly with me, if a friend is taking me to their car, and say, we're coming to the car now. Now, am I coming to the passenger side? Am I coming to the driver's side? Am I going to the rear door or the front door? So what part of the car are they taking me to? Because I need to know that as to where the door is going to open and which way to get into the car. Practical little things like that. And on buses, is another one. People regularly say to me, there's a seat over there. Now, I can't see where there is because of obvious reasons. So that's usually probably they're pointing at the same time, assuming that I can see when, of course, I can't. So I have to try and figure out where they're trying to direct me. So things like left and right would be much better in that sort of situation. There's just a few of the practical things,
Yeah, you really have me thinking. That's this great information you're giving out,
Yeah.
Okay, Robert, it's great talking to you. Can you tell our listeners where they can buy your book?
They can get it from the National Council for the Blind website. Now, not on their main site, but they have a site called Thriftify. That's thriftify.ie, and if they search there and they go in there under my name as the author, Robert Thompson, they'll find the book. Also, Amazon have it, but if you buy it from Amazon, the NCBI don't get anything from it, but it's there anyway on Amazon as well, and also on Guide Dog's website.